Hello, everyone. This past month, I had the pleasure of interviewing J.A. Jones Distinguished Professor Dr. Adrian Bejan. Adrian is a professor of mechanical engineering and material science at Duke University. His research covers engineering science and applied physics, thermodynamics, heat transfer, convection, design, and evolution in nature. Additionally, he is the founder of Constructal Law, a physics principle that explains how flow systems in nature and society evolve to facilitate easier access to movement, arguing that design and configuration obey a law of physics in the same way that everything on Earth obeys the laws of gravity. This principle has predicted the design of snowflakes, river basins, airport design, social mobility, and university ranking. On top of it being an original idea, it is a principle that unites the animate with the inanimate, making it a truly unique idea that holds much explanatory power in fields beyond physics. Hence, my interest in trying to make connections to constructal law and psychology. In addition, Adrian and I will be running a series of podcasts about constructal law, where we will go more in depth about constructal theory and its broader implications as a whole. For the first episode, we warm up by speaking about 20th century history in Central Europe, Professor Bejan's background, how he discovered constructal law, and what it has predicted, on top of the difference between information and knowledge. I hope you enjoy the conversation and come around for the following episodes.
Same.
Oh,
That was
I-
the best that we ever had. We talked about Slovakia here. By the way, Slovakia, in northeast Romania, northwest. By the way, before the Soviets redrew the map of Europe in that part, because they took almost half of Slovakia. They took it. You know, Rutenia. You've heard of that?
yes.
That became like Western Ukraine, meaning it became part of the USSR. That is also a region claimed by Hungary. They took that. Uh,
Yes.
but before the Second War, uh, Czechoslovakia was right on top of Romania, and so the northeast part of Romania has Slovak villages, and
Yes. Yes.
in addition, Czech villages. Czech, maybe from much older times. And in the interwar period, uh, they were teaching these languages all over Romania. They were optional.
Really? Like in
Yeah.
those regions?
No, no, all over Romania in Bucharest. If you wanted to study a foreign language, one of the options was to learn Czech or Slovak. They're very
Okay.
similar
That's very
because
niche knowledge.
back then in the interwar period there was a military alliance called the Little Entente
Yes.
between Czechoslovakia, Romania, and Yugoslavia. Yes, uh, yes. You didn't know those? You should read this. So on
I know those regions. Don't worry. I have a minor in history, and I took a Cold War history class with
yeah,
Lorenz
so
Luti.
so
So
so these were the countries that with their alliance provided stability and peace in Central Europe until until Hitler decided to destroy everything, and then the Soviets decided to destroy the rest.
in their own way.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Shall we talk more about your work?
Yes, my work, which is mine,
Yes.
and I came up with it um, for the first time. Um, yes, I let's talk about that.
Okay. Sorry. So we'll actually start off with your background. So first of all, I find this story very interesting. How did you get into MIT in 1969, I believe? And what were you studying before you discovered constructal law?
Well, the my brief history was a huge, huge luck or chance in life is described on Wikipedia by all sorts of people who write there. I never touched that thing. Um, in I lived my first 20 years in Romania. I was born in 1948, so I was raised during communism. The first 10 years were the dictatorship of the proletariat. I've seen the worst of that. My parents, both of them, had been disappeared. Uh, that's worse than being arrested and put somewhere that the family knows where to go find you and bring you an orange or something. They disappeared. And and so yes, I grew up in a house that was uh, not at all aligned with communism. They were victims of that, and but I grew up luckily right next to the sports fields of my city as a ball boy. As a little boy, I was the the helper of the team. Obviously, ball boy means you're a helper, but uh, basketball raised me. So I have a feel for not just the mechanics, the dynamics of hand and mind and you know, collisions, balls, and everything like that on the, but also um, the pains that the body experiences while moving, but also while growing or lifting weights. And so I was raised as a basketball player. In school, I wasn't my work. I discovered I had aptitude in the mathematics, so I was also raised as a competitor in the mathematics Olympiads, and that was that would have been my career continuing, except that in by this time I was a player in 1968. I was also in the second year of my mechanical engineering studies in the city called Galați on the Danube, at the entrance to the Delta. Um, that was the Prague Spring,
Right.
and at the time the Romanian regime was very much sympathizing and supporting publicly Alexander Dubček in Czechoslovakia, and experimenting with some forms of liberalization. And out of the blue was a mathematics contest for scholarships abroad in on July 11, 1968. And I was invited to participate because as a student I had straight 10, meaning superlative grades. I aced the exam, and the prize for winning was they handed me one application form to MIT.
Just one?
One, yeah. I had no idea what it was. I had no idea. I read about MIT because of the Apollo missions and all that. But anyway, so I filled this thing out. It was a one sheet folded, a green sheet folded, had the four sides, filled it out. And I gave it to the Minister of Education in Bucharest. I'm the guy from the province, okay? And and then I waited until November or December to be admitted, and that is and I came to MIT in February 1969. Meanwhile, Prague was invaded by the Warsaw Pact, with the exception of Romania, on the 21st of August, 1968. And Romania lived through a period of scare that the Soviets were going to do the same to Romania. They didn't. And then shortly after this, cracked the door to opportunity, meaning the door through which I leaked. They slammed the door shut.
So
So
you
this,
couldn't come back.
no, correct. Yeah. So I'm
Oh
a,
wow, okay.
not that I wanted to come back.
Yeah.
Well, but, uh, and then the rest is history. The point is that at MIT, I discovered that uh, uh, performing was a lot easier than in the schools through which I was raised, a lot easier. Not because the material was easy, but because the philosophy of teaching, in my case, mechanical engineering, was truly that, a philosophy. It was about ideas. It was not about grunt work or wasting time or gilding the lily. It was about one idea briefly to be enjoyed and then moving on to the next. There was actually the history of engineering being uh, put on display by professors who are erudites.
Right.
They are not knuckleheads. Many of them were immigrants from Europe, West, but especially East, people who ran to freedom right after the war. Some of them ran to freedom before the war. And MIT was, when I arrived, I was surprised, was a population, a highly diverse population in every way, language, race, highly diverse, naturally congregated based on talent. And they were truly inspiring, truly inspiring. I have my notebooks from that era are here on the floor. I don't know whether you can see on the floor down there.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
you see MIT notebook there. I have a whole stack of MIT there.
Yeah, you can see the aging papers, right? Because they're all yellow now.
Right here.
Yeah, don't knock over your setup. Oh wow.
See it? Anyway,
That's pretty cool. Thank you for showing
uh,
that.
the best part is that I flipped through my notes from 69 to 76. I was there 8 years getting all my degrees. And and I think that my story is important for this reason that here comes the player, okay, basketball player, but instead of basketball, I played on this new court of 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 people interested in having fun with ideas. Um, yeah, they were actually doing stuff similar to what I'm doing today. They were doing it in their own way. They're completely unconstipated. Every single person that was teaching there was uh, not walking down the corridor looking sad or gloomy or as if the weight of the world was crashing on him or her. Uh, they were really, it would be impossible today. They were smoking pipe. They were playing the banjo. No, wait, no, no. They were drinking whiskey when they would have a happy hour. They're doing stuff that you see in Hollywood movies from a long time ago. Um, the corridors smell like the perfumed tobacco from those pipes, uh,
Yes.
and everything was clean. Of course, everything was clean. Everybody was polite. Most of the professors, even the immigrants, had fought in the war.
That's
Really.
true. That's true.
Yeah, and they were telling stories about their experience in the Navy or in the Army. Um, my own professor of heat transfer had been classmate of Jimmy Doolittle, the one who bombed Tokyo, and
Wow.
we're talking about him. Yeah. So Robert, history taking not only shape but cohesiveness in my mind, because
Mm,
coming from Eastern Europe, I knew nothing about Americans at war. Um,
Right.
Under communism, the only history of the war was one line in the text, which was the war was won by the Red Army without anybody's help. You see, that was the big lie of communism. One lie among many. But when it comes to communism, the Soviet Union was so unbeatable that it won the Second War by itself.
according to itself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but they had the power to write the history book and all the other books and the movies. The movies were all about that. You do not see a movie about the Battle of the Bulge or the débarquement in Normandy. You didn't see that. Uh, they did not exist. My parents at home would talk about these things, but not in school. So, well. Anyway, so that was the beginning. So I got at MIT the topic that attracted me, which was idea based and very very succinct, was thermodynamics, which is the science of power. Power. And the word thermodynamics captures that beautifully, because therme means heating, and the heating comes from a source of energy called fuel, or food in the belly of the beast. And then dynamics is dynamis in Greek. Back then, old Greek, it meant the obvious um, force, or power, or ability to set things in motion. And that's what it is. You have a fuel, you have motion, except that between the fuel and the motion, you must have a flow architecture called engine, engine or motor. And of course, uh, places that do not teach thermodynamics the way I got it um, focus on the motor uh, or the engine, and not on everything. I just I began with the everything. The fact that first you have to have fuel or food. You need fire, and then the result of that uh, naturally is movement, because this engine is most of the engines are uh, natural. The natural convection in my room here is a wheel driven by heating from one side and by cooling from the other side. Is the same with the natural circulation on the globe, atmospheric or oceanic. The Earth is an engine. You want some power, then you stick a windmill in the middle of the wind and you'll get some power. But that is you. This Earth engine has been uh, churning its juice thanks to its wheels forever. And yes. And by the way, I'm not going to tell you huge ideas next, but if you get this idea, you know where to look in the universe for extraterrestrial life. Yeah,
I how
yeah.
I don't follow. I'm sorry.
Okay, you're not going to find extraterrestrial life on the moon, because you don't have these wheels that move around like this, you know.
Hmm.
Uh, these things that that turn and churn are actually mixing the trash, okay? Just mixing it and mixing it. And sometimes that mixing puts whatever small things together. You call them molecules, and that's how the impossible to imagine happens. You know, through mixing the
Okay.
new the new the new, let's call it, blueprint for something. In this case, in the case on Earth, it was um, life or biological entities. In the beginning, very, very, very tiny. Um, you see. So anyway, I got how should I say, I I distracted myself. Um, so I fell in love with this subject as a researcher. Teaching is easy if you have ideas. The real let's call it uh, the meat and the sausage is to think new ideas in a particular direction, and then those ideas, the research becomes the new lecture, the new topic in your course.
Right.
If you're fortunate to be in an institution where the students are gifted, and Duke is one of them, then reverberations from the students add to this mixing chamber, or this boxing match of idea from me, ideas from them, and then the next time I teach, I have even more to tell them. That's people would say out of the box, and I joke that the future when it comes to science is not to think out of the box. It's actually to think in the box, and to keep asking yourself uh, whether what you said yesterday was true, and to have the humility to say, "Hey, Adrian, you know what? Uh, Today I could actually say it better, and or today I could be smarter and not repeat what I said yesterday." You see, uh,
Is
well,
challenging dogma part of that?
challenging dogma, it happens all the time. If you don't do that, you don't deserve to be in academia, in my opinion.
Fair
Uh,
enough.
you are what? I mean, no. You simply, in my opinion, you don't belong. But it's about to challenge yourself to be humble. Uh, you're not a prophet. You're a mortal who happens to be endowed with the ability to see ahead, to see
Right.
ahead, and that is truly empowerment, physical. You are more powerful. You are guided in your movement on Earth, and that means you live safely and economically, because you have the ability to design your own path in space. Obviously, you don't want to bump into walls, but in time, you do not kill yourself. You take a nap if you are tired, meaning you're smart, not stupid. Um, um, you know your limitations. How about that as another line that's pretty obvious? And so these things, the ones I just listed, come from uh, constantly questioning yourself, and that is an act of humility, really. Uh,
Right.
it's like you're lost at sea. You see, I mean, lost at sea, and you grasp at straws, meaning in a tiny dinghy, in order to reach to reach land. That is the life of the pure thinker. Um, and luckily, I'm in that kind of a boat. Meaning, I've been in that kind of a boat forever. Um, yeah, sure, I've done a lot of mundane work because if you don't do some of that along the way, um you do not fit. You see.
Understood. Understood. How much time do you have left, by the way? I know we're kind of creeping up on time.
With you, I'm already talking too much, meaning I'm enjoying myself.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think we could stop at exactly the top of the hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So just to kind of break into constructal law a little bit, in design and nature, you define constructal laws for a finite flow system to persist in time, parentheses to live. Its configuration must evolve in such a way that provides easier access to the currents that flow through it. And I was just wondering if you could break down this definition, or even just before that, could you actually like come to the genesis of how you got to this definition of constructal law?
Well, it was, by the way, I wrote that law in 1996 in two articles that year. And so this is already 2 decades after my, no, actually 96, yeah, 2 decades after my PhD. And during those 2 decades in engineering science, primarily because of the energy crisis of the early 70s, there had been a revival of interest in the laws of thermodynamics, which means that thermodynamics was, anyway, a more active field in itself. And so much so that even the U.S. Congress was having hearings on the subject of energy conservation and how to increase efficiency here and there. It was as if the Congress had become one of the halls of MIT. You know, in other
That's
words,
funny.
my own professors were testifying in Congress. Okay, uh, and um, and so much of being on display. This kind of topic attracted interest from others, from biology. People from biology started to talk about the thermodynamics of the animal design, but also from economics, because economics, everybody knows it's about uh, making life easier, more economical. Uh, yes, everybody's interested in lengthening the lifespan. That's the medical profession. So there was a bigger thing uh, taking shape around the simple subject, the beautiful two-page science that I was taught, because thermodynamics is a two-page science, first law and second law. That's it. There are no drawings in that book with 2 pages. And Adrian, now wait a second. And I was actually involved in expanding this sort of applicability of thermodynamics. Colleagues of mine would call it thermoeconomics. I mentioned uh, biothermodynamics and all these things. But I forgot to tell you that when I was a little boy, I was also trained in the graphic arts. I was taught how to draw. I have an inclination in that direction. So it occurred to me that all these people who had come from the outside were in fact very similar to the inventors of engines from the 1700s. People know about James Watt, but he was 100 years after the invention of the steam engine. were actually doing the same thing. They were about the economics or the economic living of the person or of the people in the coal mines, and they were coming with drawings. They're coming with drawings. And well, the laws of thermodynamics are not about drawings. They're not about every single, those two laws are about two phenomena. The first law is the phenomenon of what goes up must come down. That is conservation of energy, known from the 1700s, even earlier, in mechanics. So that's, but the idea is this, that one law is about one phenomenon. I just told you what the first law is and what its phenomenon is. The second law, which was stated in 1850, is about another distinct phenomenon, which is that of irreversibility. Everything by itself flows from high to low, not the other way around. You can fill in the blanks with the words or the language that you know. Say water flowing downhill, heat flowing from hot to cold, and so on and on and on. Yes, so those are two phenomena and two laws. But in this avalanche of interest from these real people who actually work on making life easier, I mentioned economics in late 70s and early 80s, were coming up with okay, city design, with how to create a supply route to be more efficient, how to design the air traffic grid. And these are drawings, man, drawings. And then you look at the book of biology, it's drawings. All of it is drawings. And
And
it's
figures.
and that's the thank you for saying it. So yes, so there are figures all over nature, all over nature. And that is the phenomenon. There's a phenomenon that like the elephant in the room is everywhere. It is well known. Everybody knows, says everybody knows that. Uh, but it is not recognized as a phenomenon. And so the phenomenon of design in nature, but by the way, design is not still art. It is actually changing all the time. It's a movie. Everywhere you look, it's a movie. Even let's say, a dead thing here, dead thing came from somewhere to be here. So this is moving. And from Adrian, it becomes empty, and then it gets thrown into the recycle bin. It is actually in motion and in continuous transformation. So I said, what's missing here is the obvious, which is the phenomenon of design change. I come from a Latin language, Romanian. That means evolution, okay? So evolution is a phenomenon of all nature. It is not, well, even better, evolution, the word was not coined by Darwin. In everything that I do, Darwin is not needed, you see. Darwin, yeah, Darwin, or especially his disciples and now copycats are describing what they see. They are not predicting.
Mhm.
But
Yes, you
if you
mentioned that in your books.
Yes, but if you have the so-called summary of the phenomenon, which in this case is called the Constructal Law, if you have that statement that you read, that you know how to predict the appearance of these forms before you look at them. And that is extremely powerful, to predict what will hit you before it hits you, meaning to see to see ahead, forward, and also to see ahead of time.
Right.
Think about
S-
that.
So what are the like what's the best evidence for constructal law predicting design in nature?
Well, I everything I write is about those predictions. For example, why you predict, obviously, this is the lessons that ducts ducts through which something flows should have a round cross section. That is the configuration that offers great access. Why at a so-called bifurcation, uh, if the fluid flow is slow, meaning laminar, there should be only two branches.
Mhm.
Why, if the flow is faster, like in a river, the average number of branches should be four. Um, by the way, a prediction that requires to be taken with a grain of salt because the river water flows on a terrain that's far from uniform, rocks and tree trunks and all sorts of also seismic faults. And but statistically, there should be four tributaries to a mother channel, and and also predict the shape of the snowflake. Predict. I'll tell you something. And you get into sorry, answers to questions people did not care to consider, such as if you drop droplets of ink on a piece of paper, whether the spot is a splat as opposed to a splash,
Yes.
yeah, and when to predict it will be a splash and not a splat, uh, meaning the transition, the cliff between those two populations. By the same token, uh, I predicted from this constructor law the when the flow should be laminar and when it should be turbulent. In other words, turbulence, the phenomenon, is a manifestation of the constructor law, or of the tendency of what flows to reconfigure itself to have greater access. And what flows in most of these cases, these examples I gave you with the water, for example, or with the ink, is momentum, which means movement, is not the liquid itself. It's actually the oomph, the oomph in the liquid that moves, the product of mass times speed. It is that hits you when you feel the impact of the jet from the hose, is the momentum that pushes you, and
Mm.
it could move your head uh, out of your shoulders if that jet is like from the fire hose from a fire engine. Momentum, which is really a Latin word, you know, it came from Italian movimento. Um,
Mm.
it doesn't mean instant of time. It means motion. And from talking about now the French and the you say la langue québécoise. You mouvement is
Hmm.
movimento in French, mouvement, and that in English became momentum.
Okay.
Which of course confuses every student because they think that moment is supposed to be about an instant in time. Wrong,
Oh,
wrong.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
wrong. Very wrong. But you laugh if you're curious about the meaning of the words. Um, and yes, there are all these predictions, including important claims. I just made it that turbulence is because of the constructed law is no longer an unsolved problem. No longer. It's been solved for 30 years now. Actually, for 40 years, because I solved this problem even before I coined the Constructal Law. Before the Constructal Law, there were several of these ahas that in retrospect were prefigurations of the Constructal Law. That's right. I'll give you an example. If you know, a prefiguration was to predict the size and thickness of the hair strand on the back of every animal that has fur or hair. And the prediction is that the diameter of the hair strand should be proportional to the external length scale of the body of the animal raised to the power 1/2, meaning that the bigger animals should have thicker hair strands, but not proportionally thicker, a weaker proportionality. But the point is that the big, meaning that animal size matters. It is very important. But and then the design of the animal, because of these nonlinear relations, is the design of the animal is not a blow up of the design of a tiny animal.
Yes.
Yes, but this was a puzzle in the biology, that animals are distinct. Well, I tell you, not only they should be distinct, but I can predict every drawing or every design if you tell me the size of that drawing. You see that?
Wow. Okay.
Said the other way, Robert, like this. If you show me the drawing, I'll tell you the size. In other
Okay.
words, yes. In other words, design, the picture means size. It's like you say, you have today a picture of a tank, a battle tank. That speaks of the size of that object, which you printed has this size. You
Right.
see, but if you show me one of these tank toys, a toy, on the same page, I'll tell you that thing is a lot smaller. Okay.
Even if they say like 1/64th ratio or whatever.
No, well, no. Then you're cheating. If they tell you, if they show you the drawing with a caption, that is no
Ah,
longer a drawing. Okay, that
okay.
is that is a page in a book called Know-how, and that's a very you wrote it in your bullets. Know-how is a very important word because that is what knowledge is. Okay, if you want, so I compliment you on bringing it in your notes, because information by itself means nothing, but what you do with it, that's the know-how.
Yeah, because
That
you
is
said knowledge is the ability to affect design change.
exactly. So that is knowledge, or in short, know-how. Know-how. Um, but this is the beginning of a long series of jokes against our contemporaries. Some of them, know a lot. Maybe they know too much because they read. But have they done anything with that? Nothing. You
Mm.
see. But there are some people who are not. They know that their place on earth is not to waste time. Who know just enough, but they are full of zip, and they take risks and do something with that secret. You see,
Hmm.
and here you have all the inventors, all the entrepreneurs, all the iconoclasts, all the way to Albert Einstein. By the way, he was one of these people who ran with the ball, and he did it young. Uh, or Stephen Jobs. Everybody sorry, there are not many, but in that small, call it locker room, uh, the players happen to be of a very similar kind. Uh,
Yes, and I think it's the Steve Jobs example is very good because he invented, the compute, like the app, like the Macintosh, and that was a design change to how we interact with computers. And now look at our society. We can't not operate with computers. And within
Yeah,
those
but
computers, there's I guess, the flow systems of software and applications that are now super robust. At least some of them are super robust, like Office Suite or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah, this is a great example for my generation and yours, because Steve Jobs and his partner, there are two of them.
Wozniak.
Yes, yeah, but before that, there were lots of them in Andrew Carnegie. This is uh, steel making for what? For for elevating structures to unbelievable heights, through
Hmm.
steel reinforced concrete. And of course, before that, there's iron bridges. They're actually made of steel. They're standing today. You go in places where railroads are still the main mode of transportation. You go to England, you see steel trusses everywhere, and they've been there since the 1800s. But before this, that steel is should replace the brick, the fire brick. Uh, there were none of these structures. In fact, if they existed, they were made of stone and bricks, and they fell apart naturally, were under siege. Um, all these things. So the sparks of ingenuity or creativity uh, are uh, happening all the time, uh, and but they may be numerous, but the effects of those sparks are fewer because those endowed with a zip to do something with them are not many. And anyway, uh, if you'd like to continue this discussion according to your bullets, I'd like to do that.
Yes,
Uh,
me too.
yeah, and by the way, this is a very good essay here, what you put together.
Oh, thank you.
I printed it. These are your bullets. The 15th Constructal Law Conference will be in November in Miami. Um, and there will be quite a few people like me there. Uh, and I started this series, but now it's on running on its own legs. And if you, with your background and with such ideas coming from you, you should give a talk and
Okay.
publish a paper on the connections that you see between yeah, talk about your own work and point of view. Uh, have you seen the link to this conference? I can send it to you
I
tonight.
think you sent it to me, but yeah, if I don't have it, I'll just ask you for it again.
Ask me again. But that'll be a place to come, and hopefully you'll feel at home among people who come not because they get paid, but because they like to say something new and then get published.
Okay. That can be done. That could be done. I have a somewhat open summer, so I'll churn some
Oh,
ideas and
yeah.
all that.
The conference 3 days from the 5th to the 7th of November.
Okay.
All right. Um, so I'm gonna have to run now. Give my compliments to your parents.
No, thank you.
I'm a fan of Czechoslovakia that existed before the war. Uh,
Okay, will do.
yeah. And it was a bastion of democracy in Europe, Czechoslovakia,
Rightly so, rightly so.
and of technology. Uh, oh boy, uh, and very humble people, very humble,
Okay.
very humble. Very humble. their scientists have been many, but people think that they were either German or Polish because of the names. They don't.
Oh, the confusion.
People are not curious or uh, not exposed enough. Uh, but then you come in. You'll be the new professor. You'll come and whip them into shape. Okay.
Sounds good. Appreciate the talk, Professor Bejan. We'll do this again.
Thank you for listening to this episode. To support this podcast, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, rated 5 stars on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And in our next episode, we will discuss how constructal law can predict human mobility.